Now, another challenge facing Gaza is the flow of aid into the region. Israel had pledged to allow the passage of more vital food and fuel supplies. The Biden administration has admitted that the amount being allowed into Gaza falls way short of what's needed. Let's take a closer look. On Wednesday, 2 humanitarian aid airdrops were carried out over the city of Khan Yunis in the southern Gaza Strip. Kogat, an Israeli coordinating body, says 27 trucks have been unloaded from a floating pier built by the U.S., but the World Food Programme says only a limited number of aid has been distributed. Before the war began, more than 500 trucks passed through the Karam Abu Salim crossing every day. That's dropped to less than 20 trucks. In Rafah in the south, food and medicines are piling up at the crossing with Egypt. Aid deliveries remain suspended while Israel continues its operation in the southern city. Joining us now on the News Hour is Sam Rose, who's the Director of Planning for UNRWA, the United Nations Agency for Palestinian Refugees, and he's live for us from Rafah. Thank you very much, Mr. Rose, for being with us. Can you just tell us first, give us an idea of how much aid has gone into Gaza in the last 7 days, as you know?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Very little aid has been able to come into Gaza. We're going back to levels of aid that we're getting in October when the war first started. Since the operation in Rafah began on the 6th of May, the United Nations has received fewer than 150 trucks. And as you said, at the beginning of this report, prior to the war, 500 trucks were coming in every day. So 150 trucks have come in over 2 weeks, and that's a paltry amount. There are small amounts coming in through other crossings, but they're not by no means at the levels required to feed and meet the basic life-saving needs of the population.
Yeah, your organization, UNRWA, has suspended aid distribution in Rafah because of what you say is a lack of supplies on the one hand, but also the insecurity. When do you expect to resume your operations?
It's very difficult to say. I mean, these are food operations in Rafah. We stopped distributing food in Rafah a few days ago simply because our warehouses and our stores were empty. We will be able to resume distributions as soon as we're able to bring the requisite number of trucks in through the Kerem Shalom crossing. We could resume tomorrow if the crossing reopened and if we were provided with safe routes to get that aid into our warehouses and to our distribution centers across southern Gaza.
Yeah, what impact has this had, the fact that you haven't been able to distribute food in the past few days?
I mean, the devastating impact for a population that is on the move, over 800,000 people forced to displace yet again since this operation started. Now, we were able to bring in and distribute some amounts of food, larger amounts of food in the run-up to that operation. But people on the move yet again, increasingly vulnerable, not always able to take everything that they need, that they got with them. So devastating consequences for a population, as we know, that was already on the brink of famine a few weeks ago.
There's also this floating pier that's been built by the U.S. and what we're hearing is that some 500 tons of aid have arrived at that pier. Do you know what the status of that aid is? Has it been distributed, the aid that's come through the pier that's been built by the U.S.?
Yeah, the pier opened about a week ago. It was only ever intended to be complementary, to be additive to the land route. So small number of trucks have been getting in. We welcome this. We hope that the number will increase over the coming days. But we're talking 10, 20 trucks a day, at least in the first few days that the pier was operational. And unfortunately, given the situation on the ground right now, the breakdown in law and order, the desperation of the population, a large amount of that aid was sadly looted.
Who's in charge of coordinating and distributing this aid that's come through the pier? Are you at all involved in that?
No, UNRWA is not involved directly. The aid that comes in is sent to warehouses managed and coordinated by the logistics cluster, which is led by WFP. Now, they are bringing in aid on behalf of lots of other organizations, and those agencies go to the warehouses and collect from there.
Mr. Sam Rose, thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us. Sam Rose is Director of Planning for UNRWA, joining us there from Rafah in southern Gaza. Thank you.
Thank you.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.